For years, the world has seen Barry as a music icon, but beneath the surface, there was a story that no one knew. Until now, from the real story behind Barry's close call with addiction, to the tensions that nearly tore the Bee Gees apart, and the surprising influence one woman had on their entire career, these are the revelations that no one saw coming. What could have driven Barry to the brink, and how did his family manage to hold it all together? Let's get into it. Early life. But before we uncover the revelations made by Barry Gibb's son, it's crucial to understand the foundation upon which his life was built, the early years of Barry Gibb. Barry Allen Crompton Gibb was welcomed into the world on September 1st, 1946, at the Jane Crookall maternity home on the picturesque Isle of Man. His parents, Hugh and Barbara Gibb, originally from Manchester, brought with them a rich tapestry of English, Irish, and Scottish heritage. He had an older sister named Leslie Evans, and his middle name, Allen, was a heartfelt tribute to his father's youngest brother, who had sadly passed away as an infant. The name Crompton paid homage to their ancestor, the renowned inventor Sir Isaac Crompton, who was known as Samuel Crompton at the time of Barry's birth. During Barry's early childhood, his father was busy keeping the rhythm alive as a drummer, performing at various hotels across Douglas. Meanwhile, his mother dedicated herself to managing their home and caring for the family. Their initial residence was on St. Catherine's Drive, but later they moved to Chapel House on Strang Road. Tragedy struck when Barry was nearly 2 years old. In a heartbreaking accident, he pulled a hot teapot from a table, scalding himself severely with the boiling water. The injuries were so grave that he required hospitalization at Noble's Hospital for over 2 months. The incident left a lasting impact on Barry, both physically and emotionally. Reflecting on the accident years later, he shared the grim reality of his condition. Gangrene had set in, and the lack of advanced medical treatments for severe burns at the time meant he couldn't receive skin grafts or other life-saving procedures. He even came perilously close to death, with only 20 minutes to spare, as he vividly remembers. The trauma of those 2 years spent in the hospital has been erased from his memory, leaving behind only the physical scars as a reminder of the ordeal he endured. In 1949, the Gibb family embarked on a new chapter, moving to 50 St. Catherine's Drive. That same year, on December 22nd, Barry's life was enriched with the arrival of his twin brothers, Robin and Maurice. As the twins grew, the family settled into Smedley Cottage in Spring Valley, still within Douglas. Barry's formal education began on September 4th, 1951, at Braddon School, just 3 days after his 5th birthday. The family's nomadic spirit continued, and in 1952 they moved to 43 Snell Road in Williston, where they would stay for a couple of years. During this time, Barry started his schooling at Tynwald Street Infant School. By his 7th birthday in 1953, he transitioned to Demene Road Boys School. But how did the iconic Bee Gees emerge from these humble beginnings? What trials and tribulations did Barry Gibb face along the way? And what insights does his son offer into his father's life and legacy? Let's continue our journey to uncover these fascinating details. Early music career. The year 1955 marked a significant turning point for the Gibb family as they returned to their roots in Manchester, England. It was here that the brothers' musical aspirations began to take shape. Barry, along with Robin and Morris, joined forces with their friends Paul Frost and Kenny Horrocks to form a band called the Rattlesnakes. Barry took on the role of lead vocalist and guitarist, while the others provided backing vocals. Their repertoire consisted of covers of popular songs by artists like Cliff Richard, Paul Anka, Buddy Holly, and the Everly Brothers. Barry's memory of their first ever performance is a bit hazy, with him recalling it as either Paul Anka's I Love You Baby or the Everly Brothers' Wake Up Little Susie. Regardless of the exact song, their musical journey had begun. Their first taste of professional success came on December 28, 1957, when the Rattlesnakes secured their first paid gig at the Gaumont Cinema. However, around 1958, a mishap involving a guitar led to a change in the band's lineup. By May of that year, Frost and Horrocks had left the group as the Gibbs family moved to Northern Grove. Undeterred, the brothers rebranded themselves as We Johnny Hayes and the Blue Cats and continued performing, even entering the Princess Club's minor 15 talent contest. Then, in early August 1958, the Gibb family embarked on a life-changing adventure, sailing to Australia on the Fair Sea as part of an assisted migration program. On board were other individuals who would later make their mark in the music world, including Red Simons, who would join the band Skyhooks, and even the parents of the future pop star Kylie Minogue. This voyage marked the beginning of a new chapter for the Gibb brothers. By 1959, the Gibb brothers were hustling between races at the Red Cliff Speedway, not just for the thrill of the race, but to earn some much-needed cash. It was during these performances that their musical talents began to shine. Bill Gates, a local radio DJ, was captivated by Barry's original compositions, particularly songs like Let Me Love You and Underneath the Starlight of Love. Gates recognized their potential and encouraged Barry to focus on songwriting, leading him to leave school in September 1961 to pursue his musical dreams. The Gibbs family relocated to Surfer's Paradise, where they spent the summers of 1961 and 1962 performing along the picturesque Gold Coast. Barry, determined to make his mark, managed to secure an audition for his songs with Cole Joy, a prominent Australian recording artist at the time. Rise to stardom, the group, now known as the Bee Gees, was gaining momentum. They signed with Festival Records, later transferred to Leiden Records, and Barry's songwriting prowess became the driving force behind their early success. He penned their first single, The Battle of the Blue and the Gray, and every Bee Gees single released between 1963 and 1966 was a product of his creative mind. In July 1963, Lonnie Lee, a top Australian recording star, recorded what is believed to be the first rock and roll rendition of a Gibb song, I'd Like to Leave If I May. The trio's musical talents soon translated into financial stability for their family. Their performances generated a modest income, providing much-needed relief for a family that had struggled financially. Barry's reflections on their early years blend nostalgia with a sense of realism. He remembers the constant moving from one rented house to another as his father struggled to keep up with rent payments, often resulting in late-night relocations with suitcases in tow. Despite these financial hardships, the Gibb brothers found solace and joy in their shared passion for music. Their harmonious voices and unwavering commitment propelled them forward, allowing them to transcend their circumstances and lay the foundation for an extraordinary musical legacy. By 1965, they were sporting the latest fashion trends, like Beatle boots, and writing their own songs, but mainstream success remained elusive. In a bold move, the brothers decided to uproot their entire family and return to England, hoping to revitalize their careers. Ironically, just as they were leaving Australia, their latest single soared to the top of the charts. Their record label, eager to capitalize on their newfound success, even sent a boat in pursuit. When the Gibbs finally set foot on UK soil, a bizarre scene awaited them. A band, looking like carbon copies of the Beatles, was standing right there on the Southampton dock. It seemed like a good omen, but their greeting was far from encouraging. Barry, with a hint of amusement, recalls the encounter. We came down the steps, and there in the fog was this group. Heaven knows what they were doing there, he chuckles. And they said, go back to Australia. There's nothing happening here. They won't sign groups anymore. Little did they know, this gloomy prediction would turn out to be one of the most spectacularly wrong in pop music history. Within a month, the Bee Gees had secured a management contract with Brian Epstein's renowned company, NEMS, the same company that managed the Beatles. And within 2 months, their single, New York Mining Disaster 1941, exploded onto the charts, captivating audiences on both sides of the Atlantic. From struggling musicians in Australia, the Gibbs had transformed into exceptionally talented songwriters almost overnight. Despite their young age, they effortlessly crafted timeless ballads like To Love Somebody and Words, while also delivering quirky and offbeat tunes like Barker of the UFO and Mrs. Gillespie's Refrigerator. This unique blend of heartfelt emotion and playful eccentricity resonated with audiences, propelling them to stardom. The documentary footage captures a moment where Maurice Gibb boasts about owning 6 Rolls-Royces by the age of 21. Barry, with a knowing smile, gently corrects his brother's exaggeration. "Maurice," he says, the tone of an older sibling used to Maurice's flair for the dramatic. "You only had 1 Rolls-Royce." But Maurice, ever the showman, loved to embellish every aspect of his life, adding a touch of theatricality to their already extraordinary story. Struggle with fame and sudden disbandment. Barry's musical odyssey began in the mid-1950s when he and his brothers formed the skiffle, rock and roll trio, the Rattlesnakes, back in England. However, as their fame grew, so did the sibling rivalry. "We used to chase after each other's girlfriends," Barry reminisces with a laugh. He recounts a particularly memorable incident during a live BBC broadcast in 1967. "There was this beautiful girl from Australia, and Robin had his eye on her. I didn't know that at the time. I walked up to her, and suddenly Robin turned to me and said, 'Barry, has that boil on your ass gone away?' That was his way of telling me to back off." The Bee Gees' meteoric rise to fame was both exhilarating and overwhelming. Barry acknowledges the sheer magnitude and speed of their success, recognizing that coping with such immense pressure at such a young age would have been a challenge for anyone. "There's fame, and then there's ultra-fame, and it can be overwhelming," he reflects. "You lose touch with reality. You're caught up in a whirlwind without even realizing it. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know if your next record will be a hit or a flop, and we were just kids." The internal dynamics of the Bee Gees were also strained, especially the relationship between Barry and Robin. The lack of clearly defined roles within the Bee Gees fueled tensions and disputes, particularly between Barry and Robin. As Barry reflects, "Our pre-fame days were the best. There was no competition. It didn't matter who sang lead." However, success brought a shift in dynamics. After their first #1 hit, Massachusetts, with Robin on lead vocals, he began to feel a sense of entitlement to the spotlight. Barry, however, saw things differently. "That's not how we worked," he asserts, taking on his familiar role as the eldest brother. "We all wrote songs, and whoever brought the idea to the table usually sang lead." This clash of egos and creative visions eventually led to the band's first disbandment in 1969. While they reunited a few years later, the Bee Gees' star power had begun to fade. The magic of their early years, fueled by camaraderie and a shared passion for music, seemed to have diminished. Personal life. In the early days of the Bee Gees, Barry, Maurice, and Robin Gibb couldn't have predicted the incredible success they were about to achieve. They moved from Manchester, England, to Queensland, Australia, and by 1966, their song Spicks and Specks topped the charts in their new home country, setting the stage for their meteoric rise to global fame. Amidst this whirlwind of success, Barry's personal life also took a significant turn. In 1966, he married Maureen Bates, who was just 19 years old at the time. Sadly, their marriage wasn't meant to last, and they separated in July 1970. However, just 2 months later, Barry found love again and married Linda Gray, embarking on a remarkable journey together. Their story began in 1967 when Barry met Linda, a former Miss Edinburgh, during the filming of the British music show Top of the Pops in London. Barry fondly remembers the instant connection they felt upon locking eyes. Their love story blossomed, and they even shared a special moment on the set of the iconic sci-fi series Doctor Who, surrounded by the show's infamous villains, the Daleks. In a 2017 interview on Piers Morgan's Life Stories, Barry expressed how he knew from the very beginning that their love was meant to be, a love that would last a lifetime. Their commitment to each other culminated in marriage on September 1, 1970, which also happened to be Barry's 24th birthday. Their family grew in 1973 with the birth of their first child, Stephen. Born in London and raised in Miami, Stephen initially dabbled in piano, but eventually found his calling as a guitarist. He pursued his musical passions in various hard rock and metal bands, including 58, Black Label Society, and Crowbar. 3 years later, in 1977, Barry and Linda welcomed their second son, Ashley. Following in his father and brother's footsteps, Ashley also embarked on a musical career. His name was a testament to Linda's enduring love, while his middle name, Robert, honored the influential Australian-British entrepreneur Robert Stigwood, who played a crucial role in the Bee Gees' success. The Gibb family continued to expand in 1981 with the birth of their third son, Travis, in Florida. Then, in 1984, they welcomed their fourth son, Michael, who interestingly shares a birthday with his older brother Stephen, born on December 1st. Michael was named after the legendary Michael Jackson, who was not only his godfather, but also a close friend of the Gibb family. Michael pursued a career in acting, amassing 6 acting credits to his name. In 1991, Barry and Linda celebrated the birth of their first daughter, Alexandra, adding a new dimension to their family. The joy of grandparenthood arrived in 2002 when Stephen, their eldest son, welcomed their first grandchild, Nina. Shortly after, in 2003, Ashley, their second son, welcomed Lucas, bringing the total number of grandchildren to 7. The Gibb family tree continued to branch out, creating a legacy of love, music, and shared experiences. Later, career and collaborations. During the early 1970s, the Bee Gees faced a dip in their career. It was their manager and film producer, Robert Stigwood, who suggested they compose a soundtrack for a film about a young man from Brooklyn leading a double life, mundane paint shop worker by day, dazzling disco dancer by night. Initially hesitant about the movie's potential, the trio eventually agreed. And the rest, as they say, is history. Saturday Night Fever, along with its iconic soundtrack, became a cultural phenomenon, selling a staggering 40 million copies and igniting a global disco craze. Barry reflects on that era with a sense of wonder and excitement. That period was the most vibrant time I can recall, he says, the memories still vivid in his mind. I don't keep in touch with John Travolta that often, but on my birthday this year, he sent me a video message. The legacy of Saturday Night Fever continues to reverberate, and the image of the Gibbs as hairy-chested, medallion-wearing disco kings remains firmly etched in popular culture. For years, Jimmy Fallon even had a recurring sketch on Saturday Night Live called The Barry Gibb Talk Show, playfully lampooning Barry's distinctive falsetto voice. Barry takes it all in stride, acknowledging everyone has to go through the hazing. It's just part of the game. You can't buy your way out of that. By 1972, the Bee Gees were grappling with uncertainty about their audience. They released an album titled To Whom It May Concern, reflecting their search for a new direction. At the suggestion of their record label, they relocated to the United States, a move that proved to be a turning point in their career. With hits like Jive Talking and You Should Be Dancing, and their monumental contribution to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, the Bee Gees experienced an unprecedented surge in popularity. They dominated the charts, with one #1 hit after another. Gibb vividly remembers the sudden explosion in album sales, with Fever selling 1 million copies a week. Their newfound success was tangible, as they went from sharing one Winnebago to each having their own in a matter of weeks. However, their meteoric rise was followed by a sharp decline. The backlash against disco and radio stations' fatigue with constant Bee Gees airplay led to a decrease in their popularity. But just as things seemed bleak, a lifeline appeared in the form of Barbra Streisand, who invited them to collaborate on her next album. Gibb recalls feeling a mix of anxiety and excitement at the prospect. Their collaboration resulted in the massively successful album Guilty in 1980, which sold an impressive 15 million copies. This marked the beginning of their thriving career as sought-after songwriters in the 1980s. Ironically, even though radio stations were hesitant to play Bee Gees songs, their compositions for other artists, such as Diana Ross's Chain Reaction, Kenny Rogers, and Dolly Parton's Islands in the Stream, and Dionne Warwick's Heartbreaker, carried the unmistakable Bee Gees sound. Amidst their flourishing success, another unexpected figure entered their lives: Michael Jackson. Gibb recalls hosting the pop icon at his home, but the demands of parenthood and his daily routine clashed with Jackson's nocturnal tendencies. We spent days just hanging out in my living room, having fun, not really focusing on songwriting. Gibb reminisces. We did come up with one song, All in My Name, but we weren't really serious about it. I think Michael was seeking refuge from the legal turmoil he was facing, looking for comfort with people he could connect with, as he didn't know who his true friends were. However, Jackson's visits became more frequent, and Gibb, being 12 years older, had to maintain his routine of taking his kids to school. Eventually, he had to set boundaries and politely ask Jackson to find his own way in the mornings. Gibb humorously adds, "I had to kindly request Michael Jackson to vacate my house because I couldn't get anything else done." Rumors of relationship with Barbra Streisand. While Barry Gibb has confirmed some rumors about his wife after 50 years of marriage, there's another story that continues to circulate. Whispers persist about Barry having multiple affairs, allegedly with women who bear a striking resemblance to his wife, Linda. While these claims lack concrete evidence, dismissing them entirely might be premature. The truth remains shrouded in mystery. Barry's close collaboration with Barbra Streisand on her acclaimed 1980 album Guilty also fueled rumors of a romantic connection. However, both have consistently denied any such involvement. Barry's son maintains his father's fidelity to his wife and the mother of his children. Barry himself proudly states that he has remained faithful despite the temptations that come with fame. I do recall Australian tennis star Yvonne Goolagong trying to persuade me to go out with her about 25 years ago. She asked if she could come over, Barry reveals, adding that Linda also faced her fair share of temptations. Once, when we were at the record plant in Los Angeles, Steve McQueen attempted to whisk Linda away on the back of his motorbike. She's a stunning woman and had just as many opportunities as I did. While Barry found stability and happiness in his marriage to Linda, his siblings faced their own struggles with the pressures of stardom. Maurice battled alcoholism, finding solace in scotch and coke, until entering rehab in the early 1990s. Robin grappled with amphetamine use, and Andy, who achieved solo success, thanks in part to his brother's fame, tragically succumbed to a cocaine addiction at the young age of 30. Barry's enduring love and appreciation for Linda shine through in his words and actions. He recognizes the sacrifices she made and the unwavering support she provided throughout their journey together. While his brothers battled their own demons, Barry Gibb found solace and strength in his wife, Linda. He credits her with being a pillar of stability and support, a steadfast opponent of substance abuse. Her firm stance against drugs created a safe haven within their home, where such temptations were unwelcome and swiftly discarded. Gibb acknowledges the fortunate circumstances that shielded him from the same pitfalls that ensnared his brothers, attributing his resilience to Linda's unwavering guidance. Comparing Gibb's current demeanor to our last encounter 7 years ago reveals a noticeable transformation. Back then, he was still grappling with the profound loss of Robin, who had succumbed to cancer just a year earlier. The pain of Robin's death was compounded by the lingering regrets of unresolved conflicts and unspoken words. The sudden passing of Maurice in 2003, followed by Andy's tragic demise, had added to Gibb's heavy burden of grief. However, today, there's a sense of acceptance and resignation in his reflections on the past. He acknowledges the inevitability of loss and the necessity of moving forward, even in the face of immense sorrow. Barry Gibb now stands as the sole surviving member of the Bee Gees, but he doesn't need to rely on photographs to keep his brother's memories alive. He carries them with him, their presence woven into the fabric of his life. He even shares a poignant story with the Post about an encounter he had with Robin after his passing. "I've had experiences with Robin since he's gone," Barry reveals. "You might call it an apparition, but I've seen him walk from the front door to the lounge in my house. It happened late at night. He was wearing a blue jacket, and I knew it was him. There was no fear. It was comforting." Both Robin and Maurice still feel very present. Amidst the profound losses he has endured, Barry finds solace in the enduring love he shares with Linda. Their 54-year marriage, blessed with 5 children, stands as a testament to their unwavering commitment and the strength of their bond. Barry Gibb's today. Barry Gibb has called Miami home since 1974, a move prompted by a suggestion from Eric Clapton. During a challenging period in the Bee Gees' career, Clapton advised them to relocate to the house made famous by his album 461 Ocean Boulevard. Despite also having a residence in England, Gibb found solace and a sense of familiarity in Miami, where he could experience echoes of his Australian upbringing. Today, he resides in a luxurious waterfront mansion, nestled within an exclusive country club. Gibb's current lifestyle is a world away from the financial struggles his family endured in Australia. The immense success of the Bee Gees, with estimated record sales ranging from 120 million to a staggering 220 million, has afforded him this lavish lifestyle. Robin Gibb, before his passing, owned a neighboring property, which even attracted high-profile figures like former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, who vacationed there. In this idyllic setting, Gibb's family life flourishes. Surrounded by what he affectionately calls multiple Gibbs, with 5 children and 7 grandchildren, his home is filled with warmth and familial bonds. This close-knit family has been especially cherished during the challenging times of the pandemic. Despite the allure of their luxurious surroundings, Gibb emphasizes their commitment to responsible behavior amidst the rampant spread of COVID-19 in Miami. He reflects on his past, sharing insights into his personal struggles and the unwavering support he received from his late wife, Linda. Barry Gibb seems to be in remarkably high spirits, particularly considering his recent 74th birthday celebration and golden wedding anniversary, which coincided on the same day. Recalling his enduring marriage to Linda, a former Miss Edinburgh whom he met backstage at Top of the Pops in the late 1960s, Gibb expresses deep gratitude for their love and companionship. Linda, it's clear, is more than just a partner. Her strength and determination have been instrumental in helping Gibb navigate the pitfalls of fame that tragically affected his brothers. The sudden loss of Maurice in 2003, followed by Andy's tragic passing, undoubtedly weighed heavily on Gibb. Yet, today, he approaches these memories with a sense of acceptance and resignation. He acknowledges the inevitability of loss and the importance of moving forward, even when faced with profound grief. Barry Gibb's upcoming projects. Barry Gibb is currently brimming with excitement about his latest project, an album that revisits timeless Bee Gees hits alongside a stellar lineup of country music stars, including Dolly Parton and Alison Krauss. He describes the recording sessions as the thrill of a lifetime, his enthusiasm palpable, though there's a hint of self-doubt lingering beneath the surface. It took some convincing from his son, Stephen, to assure him that collaborating with such renowned artists would be of interest to anyone, perhaps a testament to the lingering insecurities stemming from the Bee Gees' turbulent past. Gibb still grapples with the backlash they faced during the disco era. The days of being mocked for their appearance and distinctive falsetto vocals have long since passed, but the scars remain. Now, a newfound appreciation for their songwriting skills has emerged. The documentary, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, pays homage to Gibb's enduring musical legacy, featuring contributions from luminaries like Chris Martin, Noel Gallagher, Mark Ronson, and Justin Timberlake. Despite the accolades and adoration, Gibb still feels like an outsider at times. His surprise at the overwhelmingly positive reception during his performance at Glastonbury speaks volumes, underscoring his humility and disbelief that their songs continue to resonate with audiences decades later. Barry Gibb, who spent his formative years on the Isle of Man, recently shared a deeply personal and harrowing story during an interview with Radio Times. He bravely recounted a disturbing incident from his childhood when he was just 4 years old. A man attempted to molest him. Though the man never physically touched him, the experience left a profound impact on young Barry. He admitted to keeping the incident a secret for years acknowledging the difficulty of discussing such unsettling details. Even now, revisiting the trauma is understandably challenging and underscores the lasting effects it had on him. Gibb also alluded to additional incidents, hinting at the psychological and emotional toll the encounter took on him. He revealed that he knew other children who had endured similar abuse, painting a distressing picture of his upbringing. In a moment of raw honesty, Gibb wrestled with the decision to share his story publicly, questioning the timing. Despite the pain, vulnerability, and determination he felt, he ultimately chose to speak out. His disclosure sheds light on the prevalence of abuse and empowers survivors to find their voices, reminding them that they are not alone. The 49-year-old rock musician has courageously shared his struggles with cocaine addiction on his podcast, Addiction Talks. He candidly revealed his early experiences with alcohol, saying, "The first time I drank, I was probably 14, and I downed an entire bottle of Jack Daniels and blacked out." Reflecting on his darkest moments, he recounted, "After losing my gig with my band, I found myself homeless. Studios often discard so much good food, and I remember scavenging from the dumpster at the record plant, praying nobody would see me." He vividly recalled thinking, "This sucks. I was living out of my van or wherever I could find shelter. If someone let me crash on their couch, I considered myself fortunate." He expressed astonishment at the stark contrast in his life, referencing the old saying, "From Park Avenue to Park Bench." He went on to describe how he would often turn to stimulants like cocaine or methamphetamine, noting that even the simplest, most mundane things would trigger intense anxiety and fear. However, Stephen eventually found his way out of the depths of addiction. He joined his iconic father on tour, showcasing his guitar skills and rebuilding his life. The Bee Gees' immense success, with over 220 million records sold worldwide, solidified their status as one of the most successful musical groups in history. Barry Gibb, with his global acclaim, has amassed a considerable fortune, estimated to be worth $71 million. Across a remarkable career spanning over 6 decades, Barry Gibb has left an indelible mark on the world of music. He has navigated the highs and lows of fame, confronted personal demons, and emerged as a resilient and inspiring figure. His story is a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of family, and the enduring legacy of the Bee Gees.